Part 9. Online game Dungeon Master. Author, Bulletin Lau Bulletin Si Bulletin Me. Chapter 81. The bald barbarian who was described as sturdy patted the thin shoulder of the elf beside him and shouted loudly, Elduin, I said there can be no mages in the Lost City. The lavender eyes of the double-blade ranger swept across the human mage not far away, and said softly, No, in fact, there is one we are looking for not far away. Bart shouted, Woman? Don't you find it troublesome? The sturdy man Oro with a white warbear behind him pouted and replied, We must find a mage, otherwise we can't get through there. The barbarian raised the battle blade in his hand and said helplessly, I can't stand you. I really want to crush those dwarves into powder. Let me go and talk, the dark elf said and ran out. The Lost City is filled with a faint mist all year round, which affects people's vision. Miss Yao stood bored on the side of the road, scanning the adventurers and mercenaries coming and going, muttering, how to get to the Olsen underground intersection. A polite sorry interrupted her thoughts. She looked up and saw a dark elf. His expression was calm, but his manners were very well-mannered. He was not a player, but a level 130 NPC. Miss Yao asked hurriedly, What's the matter? I heard that you want to go to the Olsen underground crossing. Yes. If possible, we can travel together. My name is Esadun, and these two are my companions, the barbarian Bart and the human Oro, the dark elf introduced. Looking at them, although it is very dangerous for a girl to travel with a strange man, Miss Yao is a rich girl, and her ability to read people's expressions is extraordinary. There is no infatuation in the eyes of the three people, they just treat her as an ordinary companion, which is the key to reassuring her. The names of the three people all have meanings, and they are probably pseudonyms, but she doesn't care. Whether they are fugitives or anything else, they can't affect her determination to complete the hidden mission. She looked up and answered, Of course. But why are you looking for me? Because in the Lost City, you are the only one who can find the mage. Bart ran over, You don't know that mages never come to this dungeon where thieves are rampant, because their equipment can be stolen at any time and can't be found, so you should check the package to see if there is anything missing. Miss Yao did find something wrong, and she broke out in a cold sweat, because the gold she carried was gone, as well as potions and scrolls. In short, she was patronized by thieves. The dark elf muttered, Bart, why are you here? I'll help you find it, thinking that Bart would definitely cause trouble when he arrived at the Thieves' Guild. It would be better for him to take action. After 10 minutes, the dark elf came back with Miss Yao's items. Thank you, my name is Night 100 Days. Nothing, we often encounter this kind of thing, beating up a few little thieves is enough. Esadun seemed very modest. What do I need to prepare to go to Olsen? Potions, bandages, tents for camping, powder for repelling wild beasts. The three adventurers listed them very familiarly. The terrain there is complicated, it is easy to get lost, and there will be patrols of hundreds of grey dwarves. If the things you prepare are very heavy, you can let Xiaomila carry them. Esadun pointed to the huge warbear that was 5 meters high not far away and said, Mila will definitely have no problem carrying a load of 1,000 units. Miss Yao nodded, thinking that she was lucky. If 3 level 120 NPCs led the team and still couldn't pass the Olsen underground intersection, there was really nothing to say. She asked again, How long will it take? 9 days. Village. Miss Erlin, do you really not want it? Shen Xian took out the Doomsday Catastrophe and wanted to wear it for the girl, but the well-behaved girl blushed and seemed to refuse to obey. Looking at her snow-white neck, he wondered, could it be that he looked like a midnight sex maniac who seduced decent women, a perverted uncle? Mr. Lin's petite body took a small step back. Lord Shen Xian, a legendary item like the Doomsday Catastrophe is too valuable to me. You should get this gift, Shen Xian said, thinking that it would not necessarily be given to Catherine, who would be the third party. Xiao Yunruo ran away from home again and would not be able to come back for several days and nights. It would be better to give it to Miss Erlin, and there would be no difference. The girl lowered her head and thought for a while, and accepted it helplessly. Shen Xian lightly helped her put on the pendant, and there was an extremely gorgeous necklace on the place where her chest was slightly exposed. The requirement for the pendant is level 45, and Miss Erlin is now level 36, so she still has a long way to go. After the battle to defend the Hall of Elements, everyone's level has improved rapidly. Shen Xian is level 34, and Miss Xiao, who did not participate, is level 31. The two walked out of the mansion hand in hand. The street outside was straight and wide, and it was no longer as simple as before. When they came to the gathering center, Ilya, Losander, Haben, and Catherine were all there. Except for the little goblin who was studying hard in the library, there were a total of 6 people here. Shen Xian first raised the issue of the village center. Ilya held the record and said slowly, "The current progress of resource preparation is as follows: there is a slight shortage of stone, but wood, food, and gold are sufficient. It will take 3 days to upgrade the village center. At present, a total of 3 players have upgraded the village center and entered the 3rd stage of territory development. He needs 24 hours to complete it, and the ranking is likely to be within the top 100, and he can get a considerable extra reward. If you can enter the top 50, the reward will be higher." In order to grab the ranking as much as possible, Shen Xian felt that it was necessary to use some special means. Thinking of this, he hurriedly collected information to find out who is currently preparing to build a large-scale climbing village center. The websites he used are all technically powerful websites, which are not accessible to ordinary players, so it didn't take much effort to get the approximate result. About 70. He thought about it and felt that it was necessary to strive for it. After discussing it, he let Miss Lin's Black Wizard army join the production ranks. A level 25 Black Wizard can summon more than a dozen inferior demons. All of them can make the labor force of the territory surge by nearly 200. When countless inferior demons poured into the quarry, the output of stone materials suddenly soared, and all the stones needed were gathered in 1 hour. It will take several hours to exile the inferior demons and summon the demons again, but now is not an era of war, and the regional mission has not yet ended, so Shen Xian has no worries. T.I. Online game Dungeon Master. Author, Bulletin Lao Bulletin Si Bulletin Me. Chapter 82. Compared with the assembly center, the village center is larger, covering an area of 20 by 20. It is a 2-story building with more than 10 spacious and bright rooms. The furnishings are not simple tables and chairs, but also have carpets, curtains, oil lamps, bookshelves and other props, giving people a cozy and comfortable feeling. Dozens of inferior demons carried resources and piled them nearby, built simple scaffolding with wood, and divided the work and cooperated. Some climbed up to dismantle the roof, some dug the ground to lay the foundation, and some piled stone bricks to prepare to build new rooms. Under the command of the wizard apprentice, it seemed orderly. The problem of upgrading the village center has been solved, and the next is the problem of the small camp managed by Losanda. Not long ago, Losanda accepted Shen Xian's order to mine magic crystals and develop a simple village at the same time. With the increasing prosperity of the territory, the population living near the small camp is increasing. Since it is mainly refugees, the management here is very different from the main village. When Shen Xian, Miss Erlin, and Luo Shanda walked several miles to get here, what caught their eyes was the neat arrangement of buildings. Along the rough and wide road, dozens of simple houses were backed by hills, interspersed with wells, warehouses, shops, etc. For slums like the small camp, ensuring food and water supply is the minimum condition for residents to be satisfied and maintain normality. Although they provide less taxes, the existence of slums is not for taxes. Slums are places to accommodate a large population. It is easy to produce talents by providing simple things such as clothing, furniture, education, religion, etc., and the development of the city requires a large number of laborers. With the promotion of wizard apprentices to dark wizards, the shortage of productivity needs to be made up by them. The farmers, woodcutters, and miners who came and went were thinly dressed, and they shivered in the bleak cold wind. It was time to finish work. After working all day, they either returned home to accompany their relatives or came to the tavern in groups of 3 or 5 to have fun. The porter pulled the reins, urging the ground dragon to run quickly. The heavy resources and weapons were transported to the heavily guarded warehouse. After unloading, the porter hurried back again. Women in the market shouted along the street, selling mushrooms, meat and fruits, but they were more expensive. Water carriers carried water cans on their shoulders and delivered clear groundwater to every household. The patrol guards monitored every corner and tried their best to nip the evil in the bud. This is the life of an ordinary village in Realm. There are no princesses, no warriors, no dragons. If you don't observe carefully, you will think it is in ancient times. Seeing the peaceful and tranquil appearance of the small camp, Shen Xian showed relief. He asked if there were any players spying near Lashenda. Lashenda's answer was no. He asked if there were any dangerous monsters breeding nearby. Lashenda's answer was still no. Well, this is good. I think there is no problem with management. Next, we need to strengthen the connection between the main village and the small camp, so that the two places can prosper together. Shen Xian nodded in agreement. Hearing the news that Lashenda's loyalty had been improved from the system, he scanned the exposed ore on the surface around him calmly and asked, "What are the results of the exploration? How many people can the mineral deposits here accommodate?" There are about 9 million units of various ores on the surface, which can support a population of about 1,500. After listening to Lashenda's report, Shen Xian calculated secretly. At present, the small camp is preparing to build 80 houses, which can support a population of 600. A quarter of the population is engaged in mining. The daily ore output is 3,000 units, including various types of copper, iron, platinum, mithril, magic crystals, etc. According to this quantity, including 1,000 units/day of ore imported by MK, the total amount that the main village needs to digest is 4,000 units/day, including the blacksmith shop, alchemy laboratory, repair shop, maintenance, and other expenses. Several caves and shops need to be added to solve the corresponding transportation and sales problems. 4,000 units need 3 caves and 4 shops to solve them. Calculating these data is not enough, because the small camp is extremely crowded, and new open space needs to be found and the layout needs to be arranged reasonably. How to make the shops and caves radiate the entire camp needs to be considered. Fortunately, the threat nearby is small, because the road is connected to the main village. Except for the locals, no one knows that there is a small camp here that is related to the safety of the territory. In the end, this expansion plan will take about 60 days to complete. Shen Xian and Mist Erlin returned to the main village, and there was a scene of busy construction everywhere. Around the original main village, countless roads were opened and connected, and the locations of various buildings were all circled. When resources are sufficient, construction will start immediately. The expansion and renovation of the main village are carried out simultaneously. The renovation part is mainly the core part of the village, which needs to add a large number of commercial buildings. The core part, in addition to housing a large number of upper classes, can also attract enough popularity. It seems to be similar to the concept of the central business district. Here are all the best merchants and shops, and the products sold are also the best, so it is very convenient for buyers. Of course, with the help of the Great Lord's proof, the various indicators of the territory are extremely relaxed, and the originally shabby small village will become a prosperous and wealthy town in the eyes of others. Indicators such as prosperity and civilization mainly reflect the evaluation of the territory by outsiders. Satisfaction improvement means that residents' work efficiency will reach a very high level, which indirectly improves the production efficiency of resources. The current overall satisfaction of the territory is 73, with a maximum of 100. This is a very amazing data, because 80 or 90% satisfaction will only appear when there is abundant and cheap food, sufficient high-quality daily necessities, low tax rates, and high wages. Therefore, if someone stops a stranger and asks them about their evaluation of the territory, they will definitely say something like, "I wish their Lord immortality or Great Lord." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Online game Dungeon Master. Author, Bulletin Lao Bulletin Si Bulletin Me. Chapter 83. After Shen Xian arranged the construction of the territory, he came to the 5 mazes connected to the bloody forest. Have the mazes been repaired? The girl flipped through the records and answered, "They have all been repaired." After hearing the answer, he looked up and calculated. Soon, his eyes were not limited to 5 mazes, but began to develop in the direction of 10 and 20 mazes. It seemed that what appeared in his eyes were endless underground passages, flashing dim lights, piled with precious treasures, waiting for adventurers to harvest. His goal was to build a giant underground world like the Olsen Underground Crossing. Compared with these naturally formed strange landforms, this goal is undoubtedly a long way to go. Of course, can you imagine the sense of accomplishment after the construction is completed? What kind of scene will be presented when thousands of mazes are connected? He thought, and soon, he circled and drew on Mr. Lin's notebook, and determined the general locations of the next dozen mazes. Some are connected to the defensive barrier, some are connected to the nest of poisonous scorpions, and some are connected to the bottomless endless abyss. Master Shen Xian, you are really... Even Mr. Lin was defeated by the master's insidious ability. Shen Xian smiled, "If we don't let them enjoy themselves to death, how can they promote me after they go out?" Mr. Lin blushed, "Yes. However, a large number of laborers are still needed." "What's the big deal? These problems will be solved soon," Shen Xian answered very calmly. Magic Stone Fortress. Batman's army has all been upgraded to level 4. At this time, the war is in its final stage. All the cats and shrimps have died cleanly. The fortress seems empty. Thinking of how much contribution he can get after the victory of this war, Batman is so happy. Not far away, Justice from Germany also came over with a face full of excitement, of course not as obvious as Batman. It is well known that Germans are very rigorous, so the serious Justice nodded at Batman and asked him if he wanted to fight. Batman was very reluctant. After the battle, is it necessary for masters to fight to the death? Besides, their guild's total contribution exceeded that of the Pasa world, so there was no need to fight with Justice. It was enough to keep the first place. In this regional mission, the reputation of the Freedom Guild was at its peak. If they died accidentally, it would be a shame. Batman felt ashamed to face people when he thought of what happened in the maze a few days ago. He paid 80,000 RMB and a bunch of equipment. Fortunately, few people knew about this. Batman used his own private money to pay for the toll, so the guild was not aware of it. He smiled at Justice and ordered the magicians of the Sky Demon to withdraw to prevent Justice from suddenly changing his mind and coming to help him. Justice's situation was not much better. After such a battle, all the units were red-blooded Sky Demons, and they were all dead, and their own losses were also great. The demon rushed over with hundreds of barbarians. Tisk. Batman actually escaped, all of them sighed. By the way, the Gaul tough guy didn't participate in the second half of the regional mission of the Tower of Silence. Several players who knew the inside story said to each other, "Damn. Too insidious." It is said that all the masters who went to help the Tower of Silence were killed and returned in disgrace. The Gaul tough guy is probably hiding somewhere and laughing. The mad scholar behind him said. Yes, maybe he is now considering gaining the right to rule the nearby territory. You know, you can't develop anything good with just 100 square kilometers of land. Yes, we will also withdraw. Next, we have to push the 3 commanders. This task is quite difficult. While the Zushan Guild was still preparing for the final victory, Shen Xian returned to the territory. This time he began to ask about the development of nearby players. In addition to MK being an ally, there are 2 half-dead camps of Japanese players, and camps of South African, American, and Iraqi players. Players in Agawa and Kamiya have a population of about 300 and an army of about 150. I didn't expect that they were beaten to a pulp a few days ago, but now they are developing again. Shen Xian thought that the 2 Japanese players were really like cockroaches, with strong vitality and amazing recovery ability. However, what he didn't know was that Inagawa and Kamiya invested a lot of cash in order to develop their territories. The villages were built with Japanese yen, so it would be a shame for the audience if they didn't stand firm. Shen Xian was not afraid. Even if the nearby players united, could they easily destroy him? When they were at the gates of the city, he casually sent out an army of dozens of black wizards to rush to the empty camp. It wouldn't take much time to kill them all. He continued to listen. Player South African Black Diamond has a population of about 300 and an army of 100. Because it is a single player, the population seems small. Single players are obviously weak in the early stage. If they don't seize the time to develop, they will be killed by 2 players. What's more, South African players are not keen on games, so now is the best time to destroy him. Player Doublegun has a population of about 200 and an army of 120, while player Gear of War has a population of about 200 and an army of 130. These 2 seem to be evenly matched. They are not doing very well. The current primary goal is to make all nearby territories surrender. Hereditary Knights can own 4 territories. It just so happens that these 4 players can either become subordinates or be completely destroyed. The failed players can choose to surrender. They cannot own any army and can only develop with peace of mind. Although it meets the wishes of many farming players, they cannot develop cities due to the size of the territory. Often huge dungeons need to be supplied by a dozen towns, and towns need to be supplied by villages. Therefore, when the Great Lord has not developed strong enough, the surrendered players can only be small village chiefs. As the power of the Great Lord grows, there may be thousands of territories. At that time, the surrendered players can own large tracts of land for development and construction, build large-scale cities, and have a specified number of troops. At this time, the surrendered players will be promoted to become new Great Lords and control the small lords below. The original Great Lord became a Great Lord because of his strong power. This is in an ideal situation. It is also possible that he has to surrender to a powerful king. Now, players can be said to be surrendering to NPCs. After development, it is very likely that they will change their targets and surrender to players. Of course, you can also choose to betray. Only when the Great Lord is aggressive and his reputation is severely hit, and the satisfaction of the territory is extremely low, can the backboard be successful. Moreover, the Great Lord cannot arbitrarily assign small lords to complete impossible tasks, because this will cause the Great Lord's reputation to fall and make the king who controls the Great Lord suspicious. Of course, there are also many players who choose to start over. They will be born in a distant place. In any case, there are countless planes in the world of Realm, and the land that can be developed is endless. I think. First of all, we should start with American and Iraqi players, because they are all human races, and it is relatively easier to manage them after becoming a territory. The main arms of player Doublegun are the first turn Battle Axe Knights and Primary Infantry. Battle Axe Knights? How many? No more than 10. This unit is very advantageous against regular cavalry, but it will suffer against swordsmen. Shen Xian laughed. Where is the player gear of war? It's a combination of junior infantry, black priests, and wizard apprentices. Well, there's no threat. Do they have any powerful units? The highest level is level 40. I believe it will be easy to harvest them if Haben or Catherine takes action, Mistrelin explained. Shen Xian hummed again. He didn't expect Mistrelin's strategic level to be quite good. At this rate, after the village center is upgraded, 2 major territories can be captured within 1 day. If all surrender, the population of the territory can soar to 1,000 within 1 day, from the village level population to the town level population. If they don't surrender, they first need to completely eliminate the army, so that the satisfaction of the territory will fall to the bottom, and there is a chance that the residents of the territory will abandon the lord and surrender. Online game Dungeon Master. Author, Bulletin Lao Bulletin Si Bulletin Me. Chapter 84. At 6 o'clock in the evening, Shen Xian was ready to go home. After walking a few steps, the sharp-eyed Xiao Yunruo stopped him and asked seriously, "Did you forget something?" Shen Xian touched his head and said that he didn't forget anything. He couldn't help asking, what did he forget? It seems that he has been playing games every day these days and has not done anything harmful to the world. You are so shameless to pretend with me. Xiao Yunruo certainly didn't know that Shen Xian was indeed very forgetful about some things. She hurriedly stretched out her hand and asked, "Where is Batman's bribe? Give it to me." Shen Xian smiled and answered slowly, "So this is what you are talking about. But why should I give it to you?" Miss Xiao felt extremely depressed after hearing this. She lamented that people don't have to pay wages for working for others these days. People can't be so bad. I am yours. Don't you have any responsibility for anything? The voice was very soft, but it was still heard by several lonely employees on night shift. Several lazy guys were watching a small movie with color around the screen. Hearing such a resentful voice, they were heartbroken. Looking around, I want to see which guy who abandoned me after having sex with me dared to do such a beastly thing. Are you short of money? Yes, do you think I am rich? Seeing that there was a way, Miss Xiao quickly softened, making Shen Xian embarrassed, and asked, "How much do you want?" Equally, the girl rolled her eyes, thinking that I performed mediocrely in battle, but contributed a lot in business, so it is worth this price. Shen Xian also considered Miss Xiao's contribution, since that's the case, no problem. Seeing that Shen Xian wanted to leave, Miss Xiao asked, "Why don't you give it to me now?" "Tomorrow. I'm going to eat now," Shen Xian replied. Several employees who were listening thought, insidious, actually using the trick of playing hard to get, it's really shameless. They all wanted to go out for dinner, but they still postponed the payment, and didn't think about where this place is, a bank, and there will be trouble in transferring money here. Several employees were depressed and imagined themselves as the male protagonist on the screen. At this time, Miss Xiao had chased out. "How about we have dinner together?" After hearing her proposal, Shen Xian reluctantly accepted it. The two of them found a small restaurant that was not very good and had dinner. Then he walked slowly towards the direction of the city center. Miss Xiao asked again in confusion, "Why don't you come home at night? Where do you want to go?" Thinking that Miss Xiao would let him go, Shen Xian replied that he wanted to stroll around Fatty's territory. Miss Xiao said that I didn't have anything to do, so why not go with you, and followed like a burden. The two major studios of Fatty, Crazy Demon and Fatty, are located in a remote alley 14 kilometers away from here. The facades are decorated neatly and cleanly, and there is a beautiful and lovely receptionist sitting at the door, giving people a sense of formality and rigor. Inside, the studio members have their own professional private rooms. When playing games, they can enjoy an elegant gaming environment. When relaxing, they can go to the lounge to drink some drinks and watch videos. These gaming equipment are all made in China, and the price of each unit is about 20,000 yuan. Shen Xian introduced it with ease. Then, they came to the library and the gym, and Shen Xian took Miss Xiao around. The conditions here are relatively high in China. In addition to following the boss's instructions and completing various tasks every month, you also need to exercise on time, read information magazines, receive expert training, and have etiquette training, language training, and debate training. Game studios, their business is mainly to provide special services to wealthy bosses, such as thugs, tasks, and selling various game coins. They usually do not conflict with guilds because it will cause greater losses to the studio. The two major studios are both rare in Shanghai, and players are scrambling to get in. Of course, the recruitment standards are also very strict. The top 100,000 WTP is the lowest standard, and you also need to see if you have potential. The best is that you also have a university diploma and a level 4 English certificate. So many requirements. Xiao Yunruo was shocked when she heard Shen Xian's introduction. If that's the case, aren't all of them great people? Hearing the voices of the two, Gu Jingui ran out. Old Shen, I didn't expect you to come to see me. Don't be self-indulgent, okay? Shen Xian thought. Even Miss Xiao is here, and she said she didn't come to see me, the fat man muttered again. The two were quickly pulled to the lounge by Gu Jingui. Dozens of members from the two studios were eating lunch boxes. Seeing such a delicate girl, the unmarried young men who didn't know her asked privately who she was. You don't know, this is the wife of the boss's friend, who also plays games. It is said that he picked her up after playing for 20 days. It's awesome, isn't it? The unmarried young men all looked at Shen Xian with envy, but the old members of the studio who were familiar with Shen Xian didn't have such eyes. The fat man then took Miss Xiao to meet the two heads of the studio, Murder Without Repayment and Brother Cha Cha. Murder Without Repayment has the potential to be a clothes hanger, but if you really see his true face, you will find that he is not as tough as he is in the game. Brother Cha Cha is not as wretched as in the game. He wears a pair of gold-rimmed glasses, looks weak and scholarly. Because it was a break, many people were free, watching videos, running forums, and exercising. Shen Xian sat down and asked, "What business have you done recently?" Kingdom has been open for less than 20 days, and the business can be said to have just started. Fatty replied, "There is not much business. I received a murder order 2 days ago and made 20,000 yuan. There is also a gold business. All the big and small businesses add up, it's also 30,000. Overall, the investment is still greater than the expenditure, but Shadow Cage has contacted the buyer. How much do you think it sold?" 8 million, Shen Xian asked. "Well, it's almost the same. Lao Shen, your valuation skills are really good. In this era, rare game equipment can usually be sold for sky-high prices. Even in management games like Kingdom, equipment also plays a vital role. Although the price is not easily hundreds of millions, it is still very common to have a price of several million." The fat man asked Shen Xian how much money he made, and Shen Xian also told him some of Batman's business deals. Shen Xian couldn't help but think of the time when Fatty graduated. He was broke, rented a shabby house, bought a few second-hand game equipment and established a studio. At that time, he met the murderers and Brother Cha Cha. The experts were all fresh graduates, so we got along well with each other, and just like that, the studio started. In just 3 years, under the management of Fatty, it has grown to such a scale. The number of people is not very large, but everyone is an elite, so everyone is a millionaire and their reputation in the industry is not small. After finishing the nutritious lunch, Brother Cha Cha shouted, "Let's get started." Several young people trotted all the way into the game, and the lounge suddenly became much quieter. Night is the peak time for players to play games. Half of the members of the studio will enter to assist the other half of the members who are not logged in to develop and build, while the other half of the members who are not logged in can rest and have fun. Of course, Fatty will also ask members to undergo intensive training. Basics such as fantasy common sense and operational skills do not require training. They are mainly tactical drills and development layouts. Management games attach great importance to the accumulation of knowledge in all aspects. Players who learn from others' strengths are often able to succeed. For example, players who only know PK and farming are doomed to fail. Xiao Yunruo looked full of interest and couldn't help but ask, "Lao Gu, how do you train the members?" The fat man chuckled and said, "Of course we use old games for training. We have private servers for online games of science fiction, urban, fairy tale, and fantasy types. You only need to log into these games, and it is easy to train players. Declined online games usually just disappear and are rarely recycled, so the game server is still very cheap." Fatty opened the server, which was running the famous online game Times from 20 years ago. This game is an urban type, shooting, and it is a good exercise for APM. What does APM mean? Number of operations. The number of commands issued by the brain per minute. Xiao Yunruo went in to try it out, and Fatty insidiously increased the game speed to 2 times. In just a few minutes, Miss Xiao died several times. This kind of game that trains reaction ability is very effective. Usually players with less than 200 APM can quickly increase it to 300. Of course, there is a limit after 300. Some people are born with slow reactions and there is no way. Shen Xian really approves of Miss Xiao. It has potential, but there is still a long way to go before APM can be increased to 300 or even 400. High APM is always very advantageous, allowing characters to complete many difficult actions, such as PK, group killing, and war, which are all very useful. Shen Xian also let Miss Xiao entertain herself and entered the game alone. Territory. Shen Xian is still preparing to acquire the territories of Doublegun and Gear of War. He and Miss Aaron quietly disguised themselves as passing adventurers and went to the territory. They found that the two players were online at night, as if they had made an appointment. If they were online during the day, they would not attack secretly. It looked like friendship was struck. Although the village center has not yet been upgraded, sabotage operations can begin first. To make the territory surrender is not just a matter of force, but also means such as rumors and banditry. Shen Xian gently seduced and led several groups of monsters to come near the village and ask for help. The unknowing NPC thought it was a trapped person and came over. The NPC began to attack the warcraft. Because it was a level 30 saber-tooth hyena, the NPC's losses were also considerable. The original army of 120 dropped to 110. This method cannot be used frequently and is easily suspected, so he then came to the village to spread rumors, causing a small decrease in the satisfaction of the territory. At this time, Doublegun and Gear of War were fighting fiercely, and they did not realize that a player had already taken an interest in their territory. They had not been playing the game for a long time and were still at the same level as in the past, so they did not notice it. After the harassment, he quit the game and saw that Miss Xiao was still working hard in Times. In a city full of high-rise buildings, the beautiful girl with a gun and the devil are fighting fiercely, which looks quite pleasing to the eye. The fat man was eating melon seeds and giggling from time to time. Shen Xian asked, "Why are you smiling so cheaply?" Fatty pointed at the video transmitted from the server GM's perspective and said, "I have failed 23 times, 10,000 times experience, 100 times explosion rate, level from level 1 to level 71, APM increased from 210 to 240. So fast? Even the reincarnation of the king of WCG has not grown so fast." Shen Xian was surprised. Esports and online games have some origins. The training methods of the two are very similar. The difference is that esports also want to win glory for the country. They are just simple players who make money through bonuses and advertisements. Online games are very complicated. Players play the role of businessmen. Many retired WGC masters have switched to online games, such as Sin in the United States. The fat man said, "Is it really the reincarnation of the great god? Why can't our studio find such a genius? If I have one, my future pension will be tens of millions every year. What are you jealous of?" Xiao Yunruo is the future heir of the Lock Consortium. In the future, he will inherit hundreds of billions of shares. How can he mix in a game studio? The fat man knew that Shen Xian was telling the truth. He was a little depressed in his heart, but he recovered quickly. In any case, Miss Xiao did feel the feeling of improving her skills in such a short time. Of course, she was still very bad in the eyes of Shen Xian and the fat man, but she felt very proud. Experiencing different games can indeed make people feel different things. After playing Age, she logged into Realm and cooperated with Essadun very well. "Miss Dark 100 Days, I think we can set off now. The NPCs in the game will accommodate the player's habits to a certain extent, but not absolutely." Therefore, when Xiao Yunruo and the three people stepped into the Olsen underground intersection, what caught their eyes were layers of corpses filled with stench and poisonous purple-brown mist. "Countless adventurers die here every year," Essadun whispered. "Don't worry, I'm here," Bart promised. Miss Xiao thought about it and was of course very happy. If she couldn't beat the 3 level 120 NPCs, who else could pass the Olsen underground intersection? A few minutes later, more than a dozen orcs rushed out. Miss Xiao tried to walk a few steps, and it really felt different. The reaction was much smoother, with a sense of flowing water. Her running position was much better than the mechanical learning forum posts at the beginning. It was close to nature and had a kind of conditioned reflex-like intuition. If the masters ran while thinking, they would have been killed by their opponents in 100 ways. But now, her movements seemed to be accumulated from experience, which surprised Essadun. Could it be the blessing of the god of luck? Miss Xiao fought against the level 30 orcs alone, while the three of them fought in front. The three NPCs were of course very powerful. They killed one by one with a knife and one by one with a bite, making the surroundings howl. Orcs are the product of the combination of orcs and humans, and there are also some werewolves and wild boars. Their AI is not high, so they were quickly eliminated. The experienced Essadun scanned the road and quickly determined which route led to a dead end and which route led to danger. The four of them moved forward very quickly, without wandering around like other adventurers. Shen Xian returned to the game and continued the destruction plan just now. Online game Dungeon Master. Author, Bulletin Lao Bulletin Si Bulletin Me. Chapter 85. Magic Stone Fortress. The battlefield near the end was full of devastation. The 100,000 troops on both sides were reduced to less than 10,000 after a few hours. The three major guilds participating in the game, Zushan, Freedom, and Pasa World, had to fight to the death. In the sky, Helitos was covered with scars and blood kept flowing from his wounds. He was not affected at all and continued to kill the flying dragons. The armor of Count Mask was on the verge of being damaged. His arms were hanging weakly. Under the protection of divine power, he still resisted stubbornly and fought with his will. What should we do? It seems that Helitos has the upper hand. But they still have two commanders who haven't appeared yet. A tiger is bullied by a dog when it is in a low position. Now Earl Mask is about to die. How can we not kill him? While everyone was discussing, Zushan's attack on Earl Mask began. The barbarian crossbowmen scattered and hid in various levels of the fortress. The moment hundreds of arrows were shot, Mask immediately realized the arrival of the crisis. I don't know what treasures can be contributed to our guild. I heard that if the whole body is beaten into a meat paste and the equipment is broken into pieces like the 5 undead strongmen in the Japanese movies, it will affect the drop rate, the demon Buddha said in a low voice standing in the back. The arrows quickly penetrated Mask's divine shield and caused continuous damage. For a semi-elite and semi-hero unit like Mask, the conservative estimate of the life at level 90 is more than 3 million. But don't forget how many barbarian crossbowmen there are. The attack of more than 500 crossbowmen can cause tens of thousands of damage per second. Mask is experienced and knows how to avoid being seen. He keeps getting close to the outer wall of the fortress, so at least half of the nearly 1,000 crossbowmen cannot play a role. At the gate of the fortress, the warlord commanded the barbarians to carry heavy magic cannons. Although the fortress cannot be used, it can be tribute to the fallen temple. The great existence of the temple has been spying for a long time. With their wisdom, it is easy to solve the problems left by Teredan. Freedom is of course unwilling to see Count Mask pushed to the ground, and also started the action of killing Helitos. The conservative estimate of Helitos's life is more than 8 million, and he also has strong anti-magic and recovery abilities. Black Dragon Flame is a difficult thing to deal with. Therefore, the insidious Batman sent countless archers and priests to the fortress and attacked it, relying on the strong defense of the fortress. Helitos shouted loudly, and his fighting spirit surged. He drove the dragon down and threw the blade of disaster in his hand. In just a dozen seconds, the rock wall several meters thick collapsed and turned into ruins. The archer priests who were holding onto the wall were buried in the ruins and all died. It's too early to plot against our commander. Seeing this scene, the mad scholar said gloatingly, thinking that Mask didn't have the powerful power of Helitos, so he shouldn't use such violent means. NPCs will always surprise players. When the mad scholar was attacking with confidence, Mask suddenly stopped in mid-air. He was surrounded by holy light, and the holy seal was in the air. Several dazzling rays of light shot out. The source of indomitable. Mask chanted in a low voice, and the milky white power wrapped around his body. His broken arm recovered rapidly, and the life that fell below 1 million soared to more than 2 million. Emperor Shishin was very happy to see this scene. You are in trouble this time. Territory. On the outskirts of the village, the second fence was built. The double-layer structure has a better defense effect. With the life enhancement of construction technology and the enhanced vision of high and low terrain, the fence is high above and has obvious advantages. Entering the village, you can see more than a dozen brand new houses. From time to time, registered villagers move in, and the village population has ushered in a new growth. Not only that, because of the excellent geographical location, there are markets and shops not far away, which makes the satisfaction of the nearby people improve quickly. The simple houses have been upgraded to ordinary houses, and the population that can be accommodated has also increased to 10. Enough space is also reserved for tailor shops and guilds. Tailor shops can provide clothes, and guilds can provide jobs, which can continue to improve the satisfaction of residents and reach the conditions for upgrading elegant houses. Elegant houses are new upgrades that appear after upgrading the village center. They can accommodate 15 people and need to provide water, food, clothing, and work. The satisfaction reaches 60. The difference between elegant houses and ordinary houses is 5 people, but the taxes of the two are completely different. If the tax of simple houses is 1, the tax of ordinary houses is 3, and the tax of elegant houses is 6. The upgrade of houses represents the wealth of residents, the improvement of residents' work efficiency, and the improvement of residents' level. The higher the level of houses and mansions, the higher the tax that can be provided. The tax of level 4 upper houses is 12, and the tax of level 5 gorgeous houses is 20. The perversion of the proof of the Great Lord is that originally a large number of buildings needed to be built in various places to ensure supply have now reduced the demand. At present, the existence of simple houses has almost been eliminated in the territory. Except for those close to the beast's nest and those that are noisy all day, they have all been upgraded to ordinary houses. The population limit of the village has been raised to more than 1,000, and there are 300 more population space and taxes. Next, we need to ensure that there are drinks, education, law, religion, entertainment, etc. If it is not an evil god like Talos, the god of storms, who rules the residents with tyranny, normal players need to try their best to make the satisfaction of the territory reach more than 50. Similar to shops and markets, there are also upgrade settings, and different upgraded buildings are differentiated according to different uses. For example, equipment stores are differentiated into weapon stores, armor stores, and prop stores. Weapon stores are differentiated into sword weapon stores, axe weapon stores, and bow weapon stores. Armor stores are differentiated into plate armor stores and leather armor stores. The market may be differentiated into slave markets, warcraft markets, and sundry markets. The small space will inevitably lead to changes due to the increase in the variety of goods. It can be seen from this that the game realm is very complicated. It is not so easy to play well. Many universities have taken realm as a research topic, conducted a large number of systematic surveys, and established mathematical models. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Online game Dungeon Master. Author, Bulletin Lau Bulletin Si Bulletin Me. Chapter 86. At night, with the system prompt, the regional mission was successfully completed. The two main lines of the regional mission, the conspiracy of the Tower of Silence and the invasion of the expeditionary force, came to an end. What many people could not imagine was that the final winner of the Magic Stone Fortress was not Zushin, because the commander Helitos was killed. The final result was judged as the victory of the expeditionary force. Of course, the three commanders of the expeditionary force were also seriously injured and difficult to recover. They slowly returned with the remaining troops. The Pasha world, which killed Helitos, announced that it welcomes online game enthusiasts from all over the world to enter the Pasha world. The Pasha world is a powerful guild with a long history and the courage to challenge the limit. Since its establishment, it has made great achievements in countless online games and cultivated countless masters in the online game industry. It is the best choice for players. After winning this time and returning to the surface, Emperor Shishin will be rewarded with epic equipment as the #1 individual contributor, and will be rewarded with additional epic equipment as the #1 guild contributor. Members have earned nearly 1.2 million contributions in total, which is equivalent to an average of nearly 7,000 resources for each member. The Peak Fortress failed, but few people know that before Helitos was killed, countless spoils had been quietly transported away by a large number of Earth Dragons. The members of Zushin have earned nearly 1.5 million contributions in total. Because of the failure, they suffered a 20% discount. After calculation, the average member received nearly 5,000 resources, which does not look so bad. Peak Fortress. Shen Xian shook his head helplessly when he learned that the Peak Fortress had failed. Of course, a small citizen like him was powerless. The original ranking of 4th dropped to 6th, and there were 30,000 contributions. It was best to exchange 300,000 resources for construction. However, there were obviously some rookies in exchanging resources. He scanned the exchange list of contributions and selected a few important things. The army structure of the territory is a bit monotonous. The lack of necessary auxiliary soldiers is the current defect. There is no priest who can replenish blood, so Shen Xian spent contribution points to exchange for 10 fallen priests who can release treatment. Fallen priest, elite, level 35, health 3500, magic 6000, attack power 300, defense power 150. Fallen priests are unbelievers. Their skills are obtained by trading with the devil. They have three types of healing: continuous blood replenishment, healing, eliminating the negative effects caused by physical attacks, such as bleeding, broken tendons, and fractures, and dark healing, sacrificing life to replenish blood. 10 fallen priests spent 5,000 contributions, and the remaining 25,000 contributions were exchanged for the cross swordsman's job transfer book, 3,000 contributions. At present, the wizard apprentice has the job transfer of the black wizard. Next, it is necessary to make the swordsman stronger. Although the demon summoned by the black wizard can be flexible, it takes time to summon. The difference between the cross swordsman and the blade dancer is that the blade dancer has higher agility and speed, while the cross swordsman has excellent defense and attack. The former uses a one-handed sword, while the latter uses a two-handed sword. The health and defense of the cross swordsman are relatively balanced, not as thin as the blade dancer. When combined with the mad demon, it is the best melee combination. The main use of the cross swordsman is to advance. There is no damage penalty when attacking buildings with a two-handed sword. The speed of demolition is no less than that of heavy weapons such as two-handed axes and two-handed hammers. It can also cooperate with priests to fight regular battles, and its uses are very wide. Later, I exchanged the casting drawings of the winged boots, 1,000 contributions, and the alchemy formula of the pure amulet, 2,000 contributions. Wing boots, blueprint, 3 minutes, feather 8, copper ingot 2, iron ingot 3, normal, defense 18, movement speed 5%, constitution 10. Pure amulet, blueprint, 12 minutes, magic crystal 10, mithril 1, excellent, defense enhancement 5%, wisdom 15. Building a strong army requires powerful equipment, and the prosperous manufacturing industry in the territory will undoubtedly make his vision come true. There are also his own equipment and Mr. Lin's equipment. The use of contribution is everywhere, and even contribution points can be exchanged for consumption rights in the pink bar in the Peak Fortress. What is the pink bar? I guess there is no need to explain it. When leaving, the remaining 11,000 contributions were exchanged for 33,000 units of food, wood, and stone respectively, which were specially transported by the dragoons. Then Shen Xian met with Baroza. The completion of the 3 elite tasks made Baroza's evaluation quite high, and he successfully obtained the method to remove the Mark of Light. The Mark of Light is a strange mark left by the gods. In the Eye of Judgment, countless believers hope to have it because it symbolizes that piety has been recognized. However, when the Mark of Light appears on the body of a non-believer, it is undoubtedly a disaster. The behavior of a unit with the Mark of Light will gradually tend to Myrandal. Even the most depraved blasphemer will gradually gain faith. This is a kind of redemptive power that can use gentle power to force units to believe and worship. So, for Shen Xian, the Mark of Light is really terrible. This mark will last for a long time, for decades, even demons will be forced to gain faith. The only way to remove it is to pray to the Great Existence. Baroza is powerless, so he has to try to improve his reputation so that his name can be known by the Great Existence. These beings include gods, demons, devils, and countless beings beyond demigods. It takes a lot of time to find their exact location. Therefore, now, what he can do is pray to the Mark of Light not to turn himself into a believer of the God of Justice, because if so, not only will the Peak Fortress not accept him, but even the Fallen Temple will take special actions. I don't know how the game affects real players, at least Shen Xian is not willing to try to recite the name of the blind old man every day. This is too corny. He would rather believe in the goddess, which is acceptable to his aesthetics. Online game Dungeon Master. Author, Buletin Lao Buletin Si Buletin Me. Chapter 87. Somewhere in the Dusk Hills. The fierce battle between the Doublegun in full bronze armor and the Gear of War holding the idle warhammer is coming to an end. The exhausted Tomahawk Knight bravely rushes towards the unprotected wizard apprentice. The panicked wizard apprentice throws countless dark purple curses, and the battle axe. The knight's heavy one-handed axe sliced open the flesh of the apprentices, roared viciously, pushed them away with force, and finally made a final stab. Kill. Blood splatters. The tomahawk knight easily killed the wizard apprentice, but at this time the curse power also took effect, making his body and limbs unable to move. Gear of War, don't be complacent. I will be back tomorrow. Seeing the stalemate army, Doublegun's face was filled with anger. Gear of War waved his hand apologetically and said lightly, "Okay, come on." Asterisk, Doublegun suffocated when he saw Gear of War's flat expression. Unfortunately, there are too few players in Iraq. The number of players that have emerged in the past few decades is less than one state in the United States. Otherwise, together, they can defeat this country that calls itself the world's policeman. You know, if you come out to fool around, you will have to pay it back sooner or later. Doublegun returned to the territory with red blood units. The territory's satisfaction dropped slightly, but he didn't care much. He arranged the next construction schedule. After going offline, he opened the forum and started looking for useful tutorials. At this time, in a village not far away, the number of trained dark wizards vaguely reached 30. Near the barracks, several swordsmen who had reached the standard held fresh iron-winged cross swords and practiced with each other wearing metal armor. Experience the battle, and move towards the direction of the cross swordsman. Cross swordsman has 5 opportunities to change classes, a 3% success rate, and takes 3 hours. Shen Xian continued to investigate the information of nearby players. In addition to the 4 nearby players, there were more than 10 players within 20 kilometers. After occupying the territory, how these players will respond also needs to be considered. None of the nearby lords are very powerful, Miss Aaron said while holding the record. She seemed to have conducted a careful investigation and seemed confident. There are a total of 13 territories within 20 kilometers, including 1 territory for 3 players, 1 territory for 2 players, and 11 territories for single players. The 3 players currently have a territory population of about 1,000 and an army of 300. Since they have returned from the battlefield of Magic Stone Fortress, they are currently stepping up efforts to replenish their armies. It takes about 20 days to recruit an army, Miss Aaron said. We still have enough time. Shen Xian couldn't help but feel proud of his wise decision not to send troops to participate in regional tasks. If he participated like other players, perhaps the contribution could continue to soar, but the flexibility would be much less. Players with soldiers can do many amazing things, while players without soldiers can't do anything. They are like a girl who was stripped naked in a small room. She has no clothes and no phone. She can't escape no matter how hard she resists. 20 days means that within 2 days in the real world, Shen Xian's expansion will not be hindered by any means. When the rice is cooked, Shen Xian, who owns 5 territories, will not be the target of anyone's slaughter. Large lords can levy taxes from small lords. The amount fluctuates between 5% and 20%. It can be higher. As long as you have the capital to compete with the Pinnacle Fortress, it can be lower. As long as you are not worried that small lords will rise and replace the big lords. Identity. Because Shen Xian is a hereditary knight, his territory does not need to provide resources to Peak Fortress, which makes the territory's resource advantage particularly obvious. The speed of expansion is very fast, especially when the masters plan carefully. There will rarely be problems such as shortage of daily necessities, fluctuation of satisfaction, high unemployment rate and many other problems in the territory, because the masters have often considered and prevented problems before they arise. Suffer before it happens. Mr. N's eyes glanced at the thick report and continued, what needs to be noted is that the territory of the 3 players is a dungeon type. It is adjacent to the cave terrain. It is easy to defend and difficult to attack. It also has a 3-layer fence, crazy demon, small there are a lot of balrogs and little demons, and they also have Abyss enchantment, which can quickly increase the number of demon units in the territory. However, since he is a pure demon race, Shen Xian does not need to worry, because the effect of the Brand of Light has not ended yet. In the past few days, there have been injuries caused by the Brand of Light in the territory from time to time. Now, the disaster has flowed away, facing countless. The effect should be significant when it comes to demons. Mist Aaron then reminded him of a Korean player named Nightwolf. Shen Xian noticed that Nightwolf's WTP ranking was within 10,000, and his level could be said to be quite strong. He also had a character that was determined to retaliate. It was said that he married the girl he was pursuing. After arriving in China, if I see Chinese players in the game over the years, I will immediately use various means to PK and cause harm. At present, his territory is not very powerful, but he is also upgrading the village center. After the upgrade, and controlling the surrounding territories, his strength will expand rapidly. There were still 8 hours left before the completion of the village center. They were told to keep an eye on the movements of the surrounding players. Shen Xian and Mist Aaron rode flying dragons to the remote deserted city. Desolate City is a large-scale underground city, second only to Peak Fortress, with a population of about 500,000. The two major forces here provide magic training for wizards and martial arts training for knights. It is a must-go place for players to choose to change careers. Currently, Shen Xian is level 34 and has reached the conditions for job transfer, but the technology in the territory does not include the job transfer of knights, so it is necessary to find NPC forces. NPCs provide many job transfers. For example, if in Shen Xian's territory, a swordsman can only transfer to a cross swordsman, but in the Desolate City, a swordsman can transfer to a cross swordsman, a blade dancer, and an arbitrator. Of course, the price paid is not cheap. This is the advantage of NPC forces. What players need to do is to use it, reasonably match the advantages of each job transfer, learn from each other's strengths and weaknesses, and make the comprehensive strength of the army as strong as possible. Walking through the central avenue that is as dark as stars, the statue of the Black Knight riding a tall horse is lifelike, and the fragrant magic flowers and plants on both sides are not seen on the surface. Along the street, 2-story and 3-story houses of level 4 and 5 are lined up, and the shops and taverns along the street reveal luxurious scenes. This is a prosperous city. It was founded by two brothers at the beginning and has a history of 300 years. At the entrance of the Black Blade Knights, the 10-meter-high rock arch is extremely spectacular. Rows of solemn Black Knights stand with guns in hand, solemn and murderous. The Black Blade Knights, the largest knight force in the Desolate City, provide 4 first-level professions, 7 second-level professions and 3 third-level professions for knights, and provide 78 martial arts and 29 divine arts. Online game DungeonMaster. Author, Buletin Lao Buletin Si Buletin Me. Chapter 88. Entering the tall building that is as exquisite as a palace, a cold breath hits you. In the ceremony hall that is more than 10 meters high, 8 statues of the leaders of the Knights of the Order stand on both sides of the body. There are very few players walking back and forth. I don't know if it is because the missions of the Knights of the Order are difficult. The players here are all above level 30, and there are few players in their early 20s. In the reception corridor, Shen Xian read the 4 first-level professions provided by the Desolate City, namely the Battle Axe Knight, the Black Knight, the Terror Knight and the Great Knight. The Battle Axe Knight is a heavy knight who is proficient in battle axes. He restrains lances and has an attack power bonus. He is an offensive unit. His shortcomings are low magic resistance and slow movement speed. His talents are battle axe specialization, armor breaking, and fighting spirit burning. The condition is level 15. Black Knight, a knight who believes in the devil, specializes in swords, comes with several negative states, including fear, confusion, poisoning, low health, talent is spreading evil, aversion to demons, condition 20 level. Terror Knight, a knight who believes in the devil, can use the magic given by the gods. In fact, this power comes from the devil's deal, has strong flexibility, talent is aggression, terror sign, condition 25 level. Great Knight, a knight with balanced attributes, a powerful knight who grew up in the flames of war, excellent growth, no significant characteristics, talent is the price of loyalty, honor, condition 30 level. Player transfer is different from unit transfer. Unit transfer to Battle Axe Knight, the minimum level of transfer is 10, and the level is 30 after success, but the player's transfer level remains unchanged, and the level cannot be increased through transfer. The 4 transfers require different tasks to be completed, and there are differences due to different identities. If the player is an exile, the knights will ask the player to kill the traitor of the knights and bring his head. If the player is a lord, the knights will ask the player to provide a corresponding number of iron ingots to cast the equipment needed by the knights. Shen Xian was not hesitant about the mission, because it was impossible to reward epic level at this level. It was a great luck to get rare level. However, his goal was not to attack, but to defend. In this way, he would not be easily killed. The Lord was most afraid of being attacked by surprise. High HP and high defense were the key to not being attacked by surprise. The Lord's attack could be compensated by the army. Excellent command could make it easy to make up for the attack, and the speed of upgrading would not be affected at all. All players understood this principle. The question was, who was really willing to give up attacking and become a turtle-like profession? After all, there were only a few players who were willing to give up. Most players still chose their profession according to their own interests. In the corridor, the elegant horror knight Miss Luna came to Shen Xian, stretched out her cold little hand to hold his hand, and asked politely, "Are you the Lord?" "Yes, I wonder what's the matter." Shen Xian immediately felt the power coming from his hand. He didn't know why he offended this beautiful lady, and he was confused. A romantic encounter is impossible. Although the players around him are somewhat envious of his special treatment, no matter who is held tightly by a level 100 unit, they will not be able to bear it. Luna did not mean it, because she felt an uncomfortable breath from Shen Xian's body, the power of the light mark, which made her feel strange. Luna felt something was wrong and quickly let go of Shen Xian, but she was proud and did not apologize for anything, standing there like a stone statue. "It's like this, Captain Calicos wants to see you." After listening to Luna's words, Shen Xian understood that this was the effect of reputation. His current reputation ranking is within the top 100 in the world, so in the eyes of NPCs, he is very famous. Without giving him time to think, Luna said coldly, "Please follow me." She walked to the second floor of the building with a rhythmic pace. Entering a luxurious but cold room, Shen Xian met an old man. The man's gray hair and beard showed that he was in his twilight years, but his piercing eyes revealed the majesty of a superior. Calicos, this was the name of the NPC, the leader of the Ebon Blade Knights, an old man over 70 years old. "Welcome." Calicos shook his hand, not as hard as Luna's. His courtesy was very good, worthy of being the leader of the Ebon Blade Knights. Similar to Luna, Calicos instantly sensed the mysterious aura in Shen Xian's body. With his rich experience, he quickly understood and slowly asked, "Are you here to change your job?" Shen Xian nodded. Calicos thought the negotiation might be successful, and asked again, "Have you found a satisfactory job?" Shen Xian answered truthfully, "Not yet." "I see." Calicos chuckled, pretended to be deep and paced a few steps, and asked, "Can you tell me the reason?" Shen Xian, who felt there was no need to hide, stated his purpose and opinion. "Well said. Knights are not iron fists that swing at the enemy. They must restrain their desires and emotions, and they must uphold justice and honor." Calicos understood Shen Xian's meaning and said a few words of appreciation. Of course, he did this for his own purpose. In order to facilitate the negotiations, Calicos wanted to cooperate with this emerging and promising lord in the jurisdiction, so he had to accommodate his views. The underground world is not divided into kingdoms, and it mainly relies on the control of the dungeon. The Fallen Temple controls a large territory from the first underground level to the third underground level. The lords who pay tribute to it include tens of thousands of large and small lords on the third level, including extraordinary cities such as Peak Fortress, Desolate City, and Lost City. Large cities such as Central City, Hamley, and City of Hatred, as well as countless towns, villages, and camps. Therefore, the concept of country in the underground world is very vague. The control of Desolate City can affect hundreds of thousands of lords with a radius of nearly 1,000 kilometers. Therefore, this area of nearly 1,000 kilometers is considered the jurisdiction of Desolate City. All lords within the jurisdiction have the obligation to pay tribute, so from the perspective of affiliation, Shenxian's territory is a subordinate of Peak Fortress and a subordinate of Desolate City. The content of Calicos's cooperation is the alchemy industry. He has a high opinion of the alchemy industry in Shenxian's territory, so he wants to entrust it with processing. Desolate City is very powerful, but it is famous for its education industry. The School of Spells and the Knights of the Ebon Blade train countless rising stars every year. Whether they are knights or wizards, they will make great progress after being tested by the two major forces. Therefore, its manufacturing industry is not very developed. Most of it relies on surrounding areas, entrusting the processing of magic items and alchemy products and paying corresponding rewards. Tens of thousands of enchanted equipment were transported from the territory to the deserted city, thus ensuring the construction of the city. The Knights of the Ebon Blade remained strong and curbed the ambition to peek into the rich underground world. The insidious and cunning Calicos understood the principle of if you are reluctant to give up your children, you will not catch the wolf. He took out 2 dusty excellent level job transfer books from the bookshelf and decided to use them as a meeting gift for cooperation. These 2 job transfer books are about long-lost knight job transfers. You might as well browse through them and you may be able to find a satisfactory answer. The job transfer provided by Calicos can be said to be a hidden profession. Compared with the real hidden profession, if the player has enough reputation, he can also change his job. According to Calicos, these 2 professions are not because they are powerful, but because due to the small number of applications, no one cares about the 2 types of job transfers. Maybe Calicos was cunning and knew how to do what he wanted. In short, Shenxian was indeed attracted by the 2 job transfer books. He read the instructions, kept calculating and comparing in his mind, and vaguely thought of Calicos's purpose. Blinked, pretending not to know anything and accepted it. The 2 types of job changes are Ghost Knight and Shield Knight. Ghost Knight requires undead, no body, defensive type, flaw is attribute balance, talent physical immunity, torture, condition level 30. The Ghost Knight is a good job transfer, but the problem is that it requires an undead transformation ritual. Unlike the Lich who changes his job without performing any art, the Lich can also spread the plague and completely turn the territory into a world of death, but he can't. The conflict between the factions and the undead faction is not very big, and the effect of the undead ritual is not good. Shield Knight is a unit with excellent physical defense and can counter-attack through defense. The disadvantage is that it has low magic resistance and has a talent of shield specialization and a condition of level 15. It was difficult to choose between the 2 professions. They were not the perfect profession in Shenxian's mind. However, through comparison, he chose Shield Knight as his career change. He does not want to become an undead. The Shield Knight may have flaws, but the future may not be full of darkness. You must know that the first turn is just the beginning, there are still 2 and 3 turns, and there is still a long way to go. Calicos had been waiting for a long time, and was secretly happy to see him make a decision. Unexpectedly, he chose Shield Knight. Originally, He had prepared 2 other hidden job transfer books, but it was settled like this. Of course, he couldn't say that your choice was wrong, so he said, the training of a shield knight requires countless trials. This is a long road, but it is a glorious road. I hope you can persist. The advantage of talking to NPCs is that you can unearth useful information from time to time. Shen Xian keenly caught the hint in the captain's words, put the job transfer letter into the package, and asked in a confirming tone, what else can the captain give me advice on? Calicos felt that the young man in front of him had great potential and understood what he meant. Although he wanted to say it, it was not that easy. Of course, a level 135 big boss has the dignity of a big boss. If you want me to say something, I will just say that I am not very shameless. Haha, Calicos coughed twice. First of all, what you must face on the road to becoming a knight is faith. Belief. Yes, I will prove it to you, but now I can only guide you and tell you the direction. You need to walk the road yourself. Belief. What does it mean? Could it be said to be the brand of light? Shen Xian didn't understand what the mysterious leader meant. After pondering for a few minutes, he saw the leader and said, the pursuit of power is not a bad thing, but power is not absolute. Calicos patted his shoulder in a teaching tone. Let me talk about something meaningful. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Online game Dungeon Master. Author, Bulletin Lao Bulletin Si Bulletin Me. Chapter 89. He opened several scrolls, which recorded the development status of Shen Xian's territory. You should know the business model of Desolate City, right? Yes, Shen Xian replied without hesitation, and he also wanted to know what kind of cooperation Calicos proposed. Calicos showed a satisfied look. Very good, I am very interested in the alchemy industry in your territory, so I did some research. He opened the scroll and recited, the territory has a population of about 600 and an army of 200. It produces various types of copper, iron, mithril, and magic crystals. The main advantageous projects are the enchanting industry and the casting industry. Magic scroll manufacturing and warcraft domestication and other related industries are relatively large. Week, more than 100 pieces of bronze cross swords were sold on November 6th, more than 100 pieces of silver-plated armor were sold on November 19th, and more than 10 iron wing cross swords were sold on November 21st. This is my general understanding of your territory. It is of course easy for the NPC to investigate the player's information. After all, the strength gap with Desolate City is there, so it can't be hidden even if it wants to be. Shen Xian took a breath and said slowly, no problem, it seems. The leader is right, the territory below is quite familiar. Calicos smiled, you may have guessed my intention. Desolate City's main industry is the commissioned processing of various magic items. As an emerging village, I think there is a possibility for us to cooperate. The leader winked at Luna, who was not far away, and the beauty immediately took the mission scroll. Only then did Shen Xian know that this delicate beauty was actually the daughter of the group leader. It's unimaginable. I don't know how a 70-year-old man got a daughter who is as beautiful as a flower. Could it be that Luna is an old maid who can't get married? What he sees is the surface. He thought evilly, opened the scroll, and found that there were 2 tasks in total. Choose one of the 2. Tips. Task 1, Primary Processing, obtain the evil weapon, the enchanting formula of life pulse, and be responsible for processing 10 pieces of equipment per day, including the Black Knight's Sinking set, the Terror Knight's Fear set, and the Great Knight's Palace set. Every year you need to complete more than 3,000 pieces of processing to get 100 reputation and 50,000 gold every month. This task is simply responsible for the post-processing of equipment. You need to prepare the raw materials for enchantment by yourself. If prices change and you lose money, you need to pay for it yourself. But 50,000 gold is indeed a big number, especially for ordinary players. 50,000 gold is almost twice their current gold reserves. The problem is that the enchanting formula provided will take up a lot of labor, 10 pieces per day, which is almost the share of 30 goblin craftsmen, and the labor force of finding and mining various magic materials, which takes up almost 75% of Shen Xian's current productivity. Calculating costs and profits, under ideal circumstances, players can earn almost 3,000 gold per month, that is, in 60 hours. In worst cases, players will lose almost 5,000 gold. Calicos provided relevant data, because Shen Xian's territory was not the only one entrusted with processing. Over the past year, the average monthly profit of dozens of villages and towns responsible for processing was 1,000 gold. It's a pretty good mission. Accepting such a mission means that the territory has a stable income. Although the profit from reselling weapons and reputation is huge, it can make people crazy. However, with the end of the regional mission, the price of weapons begins to gradually stabilize and fall back. It is not as good as before. Such a huge profit margin. Then comes the second task. Tips: Calicos's mission 2, primary manufacturing, is responsible for all the supplies for the 40-man squadron established by the Knights of the Ebon Blade. You can choose from 3 types: Black Knight, Terror Knight, and Great Knight. What needs to be prepared every year includes 20 sets of equipment, food, medicine, and training expenses. It is somewhat similar to the ancient system. Local finances are used to support the army. Whether the adopted knight squadron is strong depends on the strength of the territory. For example, what can be distributed is a level 20 nightmare suit, or a level 40 Inhame suit. What can be distributed is 5 bottles of powerful healing potions, or 10 bottles of special healing potions. The army is still composed of desolate city. Dispatch can usually help the territory solve external affairs, matters that do not involve territorial disputes, such as clearing out the nests of monsters, wiping out gangs of thieves, etc. So, what is the difference between this and training the army in the territory? First of all, because of the relationship between titles, the number of troops in the territory cannot be increased indefinitely. Just imagine that in ancient times, if the army of a small lord far exceeded that of a big lord, rebellion, and other incidents would be very easy to happen. The reason why such things are not mentioned, because the players are weak at the beginning and will not be subject to such restrictions, but when the players become stronger, the problem will be exposed. These adopted troops are not included in the calculation. They are powerful and equivalent to the protective umbrella of the territory. They do not need to be responsible for training and can be used directly. The squadron in charge can almost squeeze out the productivity of Shen Xian's territory, and there is also a brigade of 200 people with second-level occupations. The more powerful the army, the harder it is to support it, and Shen Xian will not be too ambitious. The remaining benefits of receiving the task include 200 reputation per month, 60 hours, and a negligible gold subsidy of 100,000 per month. The difficulty of the second task is obviously higher, but the reward is also much higher, so Shen Xian did not hesitate. Choose the second one. Calicos showed a triumphant expression. "Your Excellency, you did not disappoint me." Of course, Shen Xian is not a player who lets mermaids be used to do business. Of course, doing business with NPCs must achieve a win-win situation. Although he has accepted the task, his productivity is not enough to support it. Therefore, the best way is to delay. Wait for 1 month, the leader thought about it and nodded in agreement. NPCs are still easy to talk to. Isn't it just 1 month? For Shen Xian, 1 month makes a big difference. At least the production of the territory will not be affected. It can develop at a slow pace. With his level, it is very easy to fully squeeze the strength of the knights. After Calicos agreed, Shen Xian asked for some additional compensation. To be honest, this leader is really shrewd. Shen Xian talked for a long time but only raised the subsidy to 120,000. The next step is to sign the contract and select the squadron. The content of the contract is very simple. Shen Xian wrote his name with a big stroke, and then selected a squadron that he thought was relatively strong, including 40 terror knights with an average level of 45 and 1 knight captain of level 100. Shen Xian's luck can be said to be very good, because he never thought that the knight captain of level 100 was Luna. "What?" he shouted, "why is Miss Luna the captain of the knight squadron?" "Don't get excited," young man Calicos comforted him, secretly saying, "although you have great potential, it's too early for you to go against me. Don't you know that I deliberately put this information in a hidden corner? Players who like to hide often take paths that ordinary people can't think of." Shen Xian was careless and fell into Calicos's conspiracy. As he expected, he took away the squadron led by Luna. However, Shen Xian did not suffer any loss, because this squadron is indeed powerful. Except for the higher cost of support, there is no disadvantage. Also, how can a father send his daughter to his door? If Shen Xian gets Luna, it will definitely make the old captain regret it. Online game Dungeon Master. Author, Bulletin Lao Bulletin Si Bulletin Me. Chapter 90. The two old foxes completed the contract. Calicos was slightly proud and waved to his daughter, saying, "Luna, accompany the lord to the courtyard for training." Then Shen Xian followed Luna to the back of the knights. Luna still had an ignorant look on her face, with a cold expression. Perhaps it was due to her profession. It was unrealistic to ask people who were engaged in terrorist activities all day to keep smiling. In the courtyard, the elites of the knights were walking back and forth. There were units of level 70 and 80 everywhere. If they were in the surface world, they would be enough to become city lords, but in the underground world full of dangers, such a level was nothing. The cast iron fence surrounded the training grounds of different sizes. After arriving at the training ground, Shen Xian opened the Shield Knight's job transfer book and accepted the job transfer task. Tip: Player Lord, China, accepts the Shield Knight job transfer task, completes the corresponding training, and experiences the true meaning of the Shield Knight. Shield Knight, skill: let the knight accept the experience of fighting, fully master the essence of elementary martial arts and protection, and obtain the Defender, damage delay talent. Defender, talent, passive skill that cannot be advanced, make the Shield Knight's body tough, exempt from 10% magic and physical damage. Damage delay, talent, 5% to 15% chance that the damage inflicted on the Shield Knight's body will occur after 2 to 5 seconds. The main purpose of the job transfer task is to familiarize yourself with the profession and understand the combat characteristics and skills of the Shield Knight. Therefore, when receiving the task, Shen Xian also learned two skills unique to the Shield Knight. Shield Guard, skill, level 1, offset 30% of the physical damage and 15% of the magic damage of the next attack in the next 2 seconds, release interval 9 seconds. Suppression, skill, level 1, attack within 3 seconds after blocking the attack, causing an additional 50 damage, 0.5 seconds of stun, release interval 12 seconds. Luna took out the training lance and asked, "Are you ready?" Shen Xian nodded, and the two continued to train. The lance in Luna's hand had no attack power, but if you underestimate the ability of the level 100 NPC to turn decay into magic, you will definitely suffer. The lance stabbed continuously in the air, pressing steadily and accurately on the training shield, and the arm suddenly felt a wave of inexplicable pressure, which could not be resolved no matter how much resistance there was. The first step in changing jobs is to be familiar with the skills. Both Shield Guard and Suppression skills require time calculation, and control with an accuracy of 0.1 can fully exert the effect of the skills. For example, For Shield Guard, the best time to release it is when the opponent's attack is not far away. Too early or too late will produce variables. Stopping the attack and moving can cheat away 2 seconds of invincibility time. Suppression skills also have usage skills. Because of the existence of the stun special effect, within 3 seconds, when the opponent makes an attack, suppression can achieve the best effect and resolve the attack. Similar skills have been seen in the game before, so Shen Xian became proficient in a few minutes and used them freely. You mastered it very quickly. Luna had to admire the young man in front of her and slightly changed her tactics. The Terror Knight can use divine arts. Luna opened her hands slightly, and 2 blue holy seals appeared around her body. The pure divine power wrapped the tip of the spear. With the cooperation of Do Qi, she stabbed continuously, stabbing several times per second, bravely breaking through the defense and smashing the fragile training shield. The defect of the shield guard is that it can only resist one attack. When the opponent uses the skill of continuous attack, it will be cracked. How about this? Luna said, as if she was seriously completing her father's task, without any other intentions. It is a rare opportunity to have a competition with the big boss. Shen Xian will certainly not give up easily. You must know that the big boss has rich combat experience, and game masters are prone to mistakes when encountering it. It is really good to learn from it in such a special occasion. He nodded, without showing a look of being hit, and started to move. Seeing his expression, Luna was also surprised, but she, who has always been cold, directly released the Corruption Holy Seal, which slowed down Shen Xian's movement speed. In mobile warfare, continuous attacks will be subject to a huge hit penalty, and the Corruption Seal can reduce the negative effects of the hit penalty. It was another restraint tactic, but 3 seconds later, Shen Xian seized the opportunity and began to suppress Luna 0.1 seconds before she released the Corruption Seal. Unfortunately, due to the level, the stun effect of suppression was exempted. Under Luna's deliberate attack, the damage to Shen Xian remained at around 100. Shen Xian, who had nearly 5,000 health, was not afraid at all, but he could not resist because Luna was too powerful. Luna then summoned the fallen demon and the confused demon, evil creatures living in the 9 hells. In order to allow Shen Xian to adapt as quickly as possible, the fallen demon and the confused demon she summoned were all level 30. Siege is another new combat environment. Although it is usually impossible for the Lord to fight alone in such a desperate situation, no one will miss such an opportunity to challenge their own limits. Shen Xian's combat power is not very strong, but relying on the unique effect of the light mark, he is deadlocked with more than a dozen demons. How is it, daughter? What do you think? Calico stood behind Luna at some point, and the beautiful woman said expressionlessly, nothing. This greatly disappointed her father, who was full of expectations. The old regiment leader began to observe Shen Xian's battle, and demons pounced on him one after another. However, with the assistance of flexible movement and precise blocking, he was able to inflict heavy losses on the demons attacking him with every counter-attack. Bai Kong defended the attacker, pierced the body of the sinking demon, shouted, kicked the demon away hard with his metal boots, and turned around to fight. The feeling was thrilling. Not bad. The old leader is a person who is used to seeing strong winds and heavy rains. Shen Xian is only 20 years old and is still a lord. It is not easy to achieve such an achievement. Now Shen Xian has completed the job change task, and the information in the attribute column has been updated to the status of a shield knight. The current skills include 9 martial arts skills and 3 protective skills. Luna observed intently. She was very curious in her heart. After all, it was a girl's nature. She observed for a while and asked, is the Lord a faithless person? Calicos nodded, yes, for now. I see. Luna nodded understandingly, finally understanding why Shen Xian's attack just now was a little different from the usual knights. Maybe. He is still hesitating in his heart. It doesn't matter. As a loyal subordinate of Tirmo, the king of the 9th level of hell, the confused soul needs to be at home. A strange expression appeared on the old leader's face, half smile but not a smile. He glanced in the direction of his daughter. He was planning in his mind how to make the Lord believe in the devil. School of Spells. It's cold and humid here, echoing with creepy and weird laughter. This is the School of Spells, one of the two major forces in Desolate City, famous for teaching the magic of the dark faction. The main building of the Spell Academy is buried underground. Walking through the interlaced corridors and passages, you will feel what fear is, the unknown words written on the walls in abyssal and hellish, and the green poisonous illusion that permeates everywhere. The fog, the howls and cries of demons ringing in the ears, the zombie-like wizard apprentices and the faceless academy tutors all give players who are new to the game a bad reaction. This is the School of Spells. I really doubt whether I can see a pretty girl here. Several players resisted the urge to vomit and whispered. There was also a tall player who showed an expression of enjoyment. The Academy of Curse is so wonderful, it's like coming to a slaughterhouse. Shinue Company really deserves its reputation. Pervert, why are there such big differences between people? Several players thought. This may be the key to their inability to improve their game level. At this time, Ryan, the dean of the Curse Academy, quietly walked by with a beautiful girl. We are not dreaming, are we? Such a beautiful girl can actually study dark magic. Several players were all impressed by the girl's stunning appearance. They wanted to quickly enter the academy to study and fall in love with the girl. They did not think at all that the girl was NPC. The Curse Academy recruits potential players and NPCs to study every year. It is somewhat similar to a university in the real world. In the Curse Academy, instructors need to guide countless apprentices. Of course, the system is relatively loose and there is no need to report every day. You only need to learn the prescribed content. This kind of effect is much more efficient than the players behind closed-door learning method. It is easy to find a sparring partner, so it is very popular among players. In Ryan's office, Mysterine stood lively. She looked stunning after taking off her cloak. Her long and curved eyelashes reflected her bright and clear eyes. Her delicate facial features were no less beautiful than those of the famous elf. The silky and elegant hair hangs slightly down the shoulders, and the doomsday catastrophe on the chest slightly shines with the hot light of fire. Ryan was very satisfied and depressed. He was satisfied because he had found an apprentice with endless potential, and he was depressed because he couldn't let her come here. In his heart, he really wanted to send the Lord named Lord to the abyss to receive the teachings of the succubus, but seeing the doomsday catastrophe on Mysteren's chest, there were still questions in her heart. Luxury, is this Lord called Lord really famous? Using legendary jewelry to keep Mysterene's heart, Ryan asked himself that he didn't have the ability. Doomsday catastrophe, the dean nagged, your lord is really kind to you. The girl lowered her head when she heard it, showing a shy expression. Ryan is not a selfish person, he is a black-robed mage with the characteristics of an educator. When his jealous heart calmed down, he immediately opened the volume and decided on the content of today's education. Fear and obscenity are what Ryan wants to teach Mysterine. When players ask for advice, they also need to complete complex and perverted tasks. However, because of Mysterine's potential attributes, she is given preferential treatment and exempted from the tasks are completed and taught by the dean himself. Mysterine's learning ability is indeed very strong. When she was accompanying Shen Xian before, dark magic still relied on personal opinions. However, under the guidance of the dean, a new world seemed to have opened up in front of her, allowing her to grow by leaps and bounds. In 2 hours, Mysterine reached level 37. Quite satisfactory to me. Child, you need a mage tower, Ryan said meaningfully.